Spade story time.
Vicky was so hungry and just ordered delivery on Uber Eats after waiting forever. She finally saw the delivery driver was like only 100 yards away. Suddenly he messaged her through the app when, like, your food's just here. Give you $100 just to come down and get it yourself. So can't find parking. Phone. She just couldn't help but laugh. Delivery drivers just barely make anything per order. Who is he trying to fool? His whole attitude just fired up her competitive spirit. Will I make you like $200 and bring it up? Yeah, she just replied. So he shot him back twice $300 to come down daily. So buy him $400 to bring it up daily. Neither would back down. So maybe even when Vicky raised the stakes to $1,000, he still wouldn't come up. Her stomach was growling, and she finally gave up. She actually just filed a complaint on the app, then grudgingly just changed her clothes and headed downstairs. Sure enough, she spotted a delivery driver just nearby, head down, playing with his whole phone. He had a nice motorcycle with a BMW logo just stuck on the back, just fuming. She stormed over, ready to give him a piece of her mind. The driver looked up and Vicky froze. He had deep set eyes like a straight nose, perfectly shaped like lips, and a mischievous, like upturned smile. Broad shoulders, trim waist, and yeah, well, she thought like if he were a donor at a sperm bank, she'd be adding him to her cart, but maybe his good looks weren't gonna save him anyway. Then he opened that perfect mouth and started lecturing her. Do you know you made me late? Like, what did you think this was? Like an auction house gift. That set her off. Vicky exploded. Daily Archimedes could move the earth, but just couldn't budge your legs. So Newton could calculate celestial orbits, but couldn't figure out when you'd deliver. So while you're playing on your phone, there are people who've just finished 10-hour surgeries, just too exhausted to move, just starving and dizzy, just like wanting a hot meal. There are over 330 million people in America, but only about 1 million doctors. That means each doctor has to care for like around 330 people on average, but like you don't know that, you just don't care. So you really only care about yourself, so can't. He was stunned. Vicky snatched her food and turned to leave, so he called after her, sobbing. Like, I haven't sent you the money daily, she laughed, as if he was like really gonna give her $1,100. She turned back, so peeled off the fake BMW logo from his motorcycle and tossed it on the curb. Decided to consider the money payment for this, like, fake kind of bad. People may have different social status, but all honest work deserves respect. There's no shame in being a young delivery driver, but just don't pretend to be rich. So no one's just buying it anyway. Rather with that, she just walked away, leaving her righteous deed unsung. A few days later, Vicky called a ride after her night shift and was matched with a car she'd never seen before. Just from its appearance. She could tell it just wasn't so cheap. So as she approached, she realized she couldn't even figure out how to open the door. Thankfully, it just opened automatically and she just slid into the back seat. So in the rearview mirror, she recognized that cocky delivery driver from just before. He spotted her and his face fell so daily. You again, Daily? She was equally puzzled. Daily, like, why aren't you doing deliveries anymore? Just switch to Uber. Yeah. Ago, thanks to your complaint. So I just lost that job, Ickle, he said bitterly. Feeling slightly guilty, Vicky forced a laugh. Daily. Well, driving for Uber isn't really so bad. Like, sick. So she figured he must be moonlighting with someone else's luxury, like, car. He gunned the engine with a scowl and the car shot forward like an arrow. Like the whole entire ride, he drove like a maniac, like engine roaring, taking sharp turns and like sudden stops that nearly made her lose her dinner. Vicky knew he was doing it on purpose, so she caught him watching her in the mirror with a pretty satisfied like smirk. But did he think she'd back down? Maybe not a chance. So like, honestly, like, hey, Luke wanted to know where our hospital gets most of its organ donations from street racers. When they crash, they either die or end up critically injured. Young guys, fresh, healthy organs, sure, racing might be fun, but at least your death would serve society, by the way. So have you signed up to be like an organ donor? Like, just kind of tally. He slammed on the brakes, nearly sending her into the front seat twice. Get out. Like, he just barked. Well, but I'm not home yet. So Chichu Witko, $500 for another ride. Just get out of my car. Just create whatever it demanded. She pulled out her phone so he could just transfer the money. So here we go again. So she definitely wasn't falling for it. So she'd report him as soon as she got out. Vicky grabbed her bag just to leave, but she still couldn't figure out the door. There was a strange button, so she just kind of pressed it Suddenly, the front seat started rotating smoothly, just turning 180 degrees until he was facing her. But it didn't stop there, so his seat just began sliding toward her. What kind of fancy feature was this? She just frantically pressed other buttons trying to stop it, but nothing really worked, and he just kept getting closer and closer until their faces were nearly touching.
Stop pressing buttons. Lean like he said in panic, get your hand off the boss controls, Dale.
It just finally stopped, but he and his seat were wedged between her legs. She was just trapped in the car, in the most awkward position so imaginable. Just kill me now. Just trying to cover her embarrassment, Vicky forced a casual tone. Daily rich people sure have interesting toys. Haha. Literally the door finally opened. Passersby were pointing and staring at them inside. His face turned dark as he growled through gritted teeth. So get your hand off my crotch. Soling sorta. She panicked and pressed down so hard, making him groan. So unfair, she thought it was the armrest. So Vicky just scrambled out of the car, using all four limbs. The next morning at work, the nurses were huddled together like gossiping. Damn, it's wild. Manhattan's most eligible bachelor was caught in a really compromising position in his car. Court, doesn't that woman look familiar? Like Bill Day is too blurry to tell, but look again, download. The nurses glanced at Vicky like whispering, die. No wonder she looks so familiar. She looks like Dr. Wells in her. Just Vicky cleared her throat and just reminded them it was time to work. Near the whole end of her shift, her friend from gastroenterology, Sophie Parker, asked her to grab dinner together. I've just 2 more patients left. Could you cover for me? I really need to use the whole bathroom, Sophie said, just clutching her stomach. Vicky figured why not. Just sitting at the computer, she saw the next patient was coming in for a post-hemorrhoid surgery check. Just up. Hearing someone enter, she didn't even look up before saying, Star, close the door. Just take off your pants and lie down on the bed. Just over there. Just day over there. Just day. When the patient didn't move, she looked up daily. I said, take off your tweaked. Luke was standing there in a courier uniform. Good Lord. He just hit the service industry trifta. He just stared at her in disbelief, hissing through his teeth daily, you shameless woman, daily. Ago, so how is it you again? Guy. Vicky frowned, sensing trouble. Guy, don't tell me something got damaged from last night for that kind of issue. So you need urology, not just here, Kai. He tossed a package on her desk, laughing incredulously. Star, how can you be so brazen, daily? She responded so calmly, twice to doctors, you're just flesh and bones. What's there to be so embarrassed about? Daily. He just seemed deeply offended, suddenly leaning in close to stare at her. Daily, just flesh and bones to you. Am I really So she cleared her throat.
Daily?
Yes. Daily, though, internally she thought rather attractive, like flesh and bones, actually. I'll remember that, so all he said just before striding out. So Vicky called after him. Guy remembered to visit urology area. He paused mid-step, then just vanished from her sight at lightning speed. On the weekend, so Vicky's colleagues organized a get-together at an upscale restaurant. After a few drinks, everyone was in high spirit. So her catty coworker suddenly put on a sugary voice and said, Tweki, Valentine's Day is coming up, and I have a whole date with my boyfriend. So since you're the only single one here, would you cover my shift daily? Her voice was so soft, but the insult was so loud and clear. Vicky shot back sarcastically, so, no way I'm covering your shift, but I could actually cover your date daily. The coworker's face just twisted. Just then, footsteps approached from behind. She threw herself into someone's arms, cooing Nick so honey. Vicky just said she wants to go on a date with you instead of just me. Daily. He stroked her head so affectionately and said twice, you're the only one for me. Daily. Looking closer, Vicky realized it was her ex, Daniel Pierce. He had been her first love, so she had a crush on him for 2 years before they just finally got together. But after 3 months, he just made up excuses to break up with her. Less than 2 weeks after their breakup, he became her catty co-worker's boyfriend. Daniel glanced at Vicky with indifference. Star, Vicky's just joking, daily. His girlfriend just simpered. Star, oh no, she wasn't joking. She used to bring you breakfast every morning for 2 years, just one text from you, and she'd come running to cover your shifts. Must be pretty bitter about getting dumped after all that chasing. Huh? Daily. Daniel held her close and offered an insincere apology. Daily, Vicky, she's so drunk. Daily. His girlfriend wouldn't let up. Suddy, I'm not drunk. Just so yesterday you showed me her texts just begging to get back together. Didn't you laugh about what a desperate puppy she was?
Daily.
Vicky stared at Daniel wide-eyed. Daily, you just said that about me behind my back.
Daily.
Before Daniel could explain, His girlfriend jumped in daily even during those 3 months, like you were together. So whenever you were covering his shifts, he was actually like in bed with me. But Daniel just clamped his hand over her mouth. Vicky's heart was in turmoil, but she kept her voice steady. Oh, Mr. 30 seconds of whatever. So fame. So no need to book a hotel room for that. And bragging about cheating while dating looks like you got Botox in your brain instead of your face. Just not a wrinkle of like common sense in there. Just honestly, all their colleagues were staring at the couple trying so hard not to laugh. Daniel's face turned purple with rage. Daily Vicky, so she's just like so drunk and talking nonsense. The fact that you'd argue with a drunk person shows exactly why I don't like you. Women who are just so too strong, so minded end up alone. Vicky gave him a sideways glance, so just like you're so weak. Like I bet you have men lining up for you daily. He was speechless with anger, finally sputtering when like I never liked you, so stop clinging to me. You look so pathetic when nobody wants you. She just secretly dug her nails into her palms until it really hurt. Suddenly, a large hand landed on her shoulder and a strong arm pulled her against a solid chest. A lazy voice spoke from just above her head, Daly, who says, like, nobody wants my girlfriend, like just Daly. Vicky looked up so well. If it wasn't Luke, must be picking up another delivery from the whole restaurant. Her colleagues kind of gasped. Daniel's eyes widened twice. Vicky, like, when did you get a new man?
Like David.
She just stood up straight and fired back. Good.
What are you, a straw salesman? Why so interested in everyone's business?
Shut. Luke held her so close and said to Daniel Development, everyone meets a few jerks when they're young, immature. Love is just like a case of just one person being trash and the other just being blind. Now Vicky has me, so she's just so cured of her blindness. Like with a boyfriend like me, why would she even look at you? And if you spread rumors about her, I'll be calling my lawyers daily. A shiver ran down her spine. Like Luke was so manly, she just wanted to cheer wildly for him. Daniel so deliberately showed off his Rolex and sneered, Daly, like what good is being so handsome if you can't pay the bills with that face, Daly? Luke just snapped his fingers and said to the manager behind him, so twinned of this room's bill on my tab on my face, and remember just not including those two, Daly. The manager bowed and just agreed immediately. Luke's move slapped Daniel's face with a resounding kind of like crack. Vicky's heart ached. How many deliveries, Uber rides, and whatever courier runs would it take him to earn back this money? Just showing off just feels great until the bill actually comes. She pulled at his sleeve and whispered, Star, like, let's just forget about the money. David, I'll everyone enjoy your meal. I have a date with Vicky, yeah. Like he said, like leading her toward the exit behind them. Shocked exclamations just erupted from the private room. His hand was so warm and dry as he pulled Vicky along until they were far from the restaurant. When they finally reached like a quiet spot, she couldn't hold back her tears anymore. Luke stood beside her, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Daly, weren't you so tough earlier? Why are you crying now? So like between sobs, Vicky explained, Daly, like I'm just crying about the money. That private room was really, really expensive. You're like the biggest pencil case I've ever seen, doesn't it? Like tire you out carrying around so many different personas, Ty. In truth, like she was crying about her own like blindness. So despite her current strong facade, she had been quite vulnerable when she first started at the hospital. Back then, Daniel had helped her through so many difficult moments. She, who had never dated before, had fallen for him. She had actually made like countless excuses for him, thinking he was just like shy or too busy. She never imagined that scumbag had been cheating on her while she covered his shifts. It just made her feel so sick to her like stomach. Luke patted her back gently, Daily, like it's like, okay, I know you're hurting over me, but really, wiping away her tears. Vicky said, Ling, give me your phone number. I'll just add you and you can send me the bill later. I'll just like transfer the money, Daily. He didn't refuse. They exchanged contacts and he said with a smile, Daily, finally got your number, Daily. So his smile was like a gentle summer breeze, just kind of like stirring something in her heart. Remembering his previous attempts at showing off, Vicky just put on a stern face. Daily, Mr. Kingston, from now on, just be yourself. Just no more pretending, Daily. Birth, what an old-fashioned way to address me. Makes me sound so ancient. Just call me Luke, Daily. He told her about his broken family, a deceased mother, an absent father, a wicked stepmother, and his own poverty. Feeling so sympathetic, Vicky said, Daily, how about this? Pretend to be my boyfriend for this month. Just show up, just like occasionally. I'll pay you $5,000 for the month twice. She didn't really need to hire a fake boyfriend, so she couldn't really care less what her colleagues really thought. She mainly just wanted to help him out. He agreed immediately, smiling brightly. Vicky understood that it was like the power of money. Word had just spread through the hospital that Vicky had a handsome, wealthy boyfriend, Daniel, and his girlfriend had just been avoiding her for days. Valentine's Day was approaching pretty quickly, so Vicky sent Luke a link to order flowers for her, transferring him the money as well. She had a surgery scheduled that day, and when she emerged from the operating room around noon, she found the nurses just clustered around something, so just murmuring in amazement. On her desk sat a large bouquet of deep purple roses. This wasn't just the kind of bouquet she had picked out. She just figured Luke must have pocketed her money and bought some wilted roses just to kind of get by. As she was about to message him to complain, a young nurse exclaimed, "Daily Dr. Wells, your boyfriend must be so loaded. I just looked it up oh, these are Louis' X of roses, an extremely rare variety. None of us have ever seen them in person before. The flower's meaning is it's just you're my one and only, 'cause just how romantic So he must have bought dyed roses, Vicky thought, yet another one of his shows, but she had to admit showing off always felt pretty good. She just smiled mysteriously, just maintaining an air of sophistication. Daniel seized a moment when no one was around to come to her office. Daily Vicky, that guy is just pretending to be rich. He's just wearing knockoff brands. I'm just warning you for your own good, so don't let vanity blind you into just being fooled. Daily. What a joke, as if she didn't know exactly who Luke was without even looking up, so she just replied, "Sen, just save your fake concern." Yep. He spoke with a bitter edge, Daily, I thought you were so devoted to me, but you moved on so quickly after our breakup. You're always willing to sleep with him, so why wouldn't you sleep with me back then? I wouldn't have dumped you. Damn it, Vicky's fist just clenched, literally just as she was about to punch him. A phone came flying through the doorway, hitting Daniel just squarely on the head. The phone fell to the ground. Its screen shattered. Daniel was just stunned, just holding his head as he crouched down. Luke sauntered in from the doorway, shaking out his hand. Daily. Sorry about that, so my hand slipped. Have you really seen my phone? Daniel clutched his head, eyes blazing. Twice you dare just hit me. Daily. So Liv, like I said, it was kind of a slip Dr. Wells. Maybe she ordered him a full set of tests, CT scan, MRI, x-rays, the works. We need to check him so thoroughly. Daily, Luke glanced at Daniel. Daily, don't worry, so maybe I'll cover all the costs. Is that accommodating enough? Daniel was just too angry to speak. Vicky just sort of casually typed at her keyboard, "Daily Dr. Pierce, I've always ordered your radiation package. Would you like us to help you to the examination room?" Daniel just scrambled to his feet, shot them both a death glare, just cursed under his breath, and left. Vicky picked up the phone, saying worriedly, "Star, it's just completely broken next time. Don't use a phone, just use the brick by my door instead." Luke just smiled, pure "It's fine, just a phone, Dave." That got her fired up. "So quit and listen to yourself, 'cause just like a phone, 'cause you get my salary and immediately start splurging, is that it?" He led her to the entrance where a flashy red Ferrari was parked. Seeing her skeptical look, he whispered, "Daily, it's rented just to help you save face, so connect." This guy really did provide extra value, so her colleagues leaving work stared at her with envious eyes. So as she settled into the car with her flowers, he handed her a bubble tea. She hesitated. Download, "We shouldn't drink in the car, so what if we just spill something?" So instead of taking Vicky home as she expected, Luke drove to the waterfront and led her to a restaurant. One glance told her it was extremely expensive, so her wallet had just been feeling a bit thin lately. He leaned in so close and whispered, "Daily, so I won a couple's dinner here in a raffle, but it's only valid for actual couples. It's probably my first time here too, so let's just pretend to be a couple." Vicky patted her chest pretty confidently. "Daily, no problem, Daily." The personal butler greeted them at the entrance. "Daily, Mr. Kingston, so your table is just ready." He shot Vicky a meaningful look, and she calmly took his arm as they walked in. The butler led them to the second floor where they could just overlook the city's glittering waterfront. Basically, there was only just one table on the whole entire floor. Course after course of French cuisine arrived in pretty quick succession. A violinist stood nearby, playing pretty softly. The atmosphere was perfect. They opened a whole bottle of wine, and Vicky felt herself getting really tipsy, like her cheeks flushing behind Luke fireworks suddenly burst across the city skyline. Holding her wine glass, Vicky mused, download, look at that, some sort of rich person putting on a fireworks show for their loved one. Just how beautiful. Daily. Luke asked, hey, like, do you like it, Daily? Or are you so silly? What girl doesn't love romance, Daily? Luke's eyes flickered with something, and he tentatively said, actually, I'm just like the Prince of Manhattan, Daily. Vicky stared at him in disbelief, then suddenly just smacked his head, exclaiming so loudly, Daily, nonsense. There are no princes in modern America. So Bill, with that, she collapsed into his arms, kind of drunk. The next morning, Vicky woke up in her own bed, like memories of the previous night flooding back. Luke had helped her out of the restaurant, but in the elevator, she had suddenly clung to him like an octopus, like impossible to shake off. So she had pulled open his clothes and just pressed her face against his chest, saying, oh, twit, like so hot, so let me like cool my little face, Daily. He had swallowed so hard and said, Daily Vicky, you're so drunk, let me take you home.
Daily?
I go, I'm perfectly sober. I know you're like a prince, and I'm like a princess. We're meant to be together. Dale, he had managed to get her into the car and drive her home. She had just babbled nonsense and just forcefully kissed him. She couldn't remember anything after that. She was just so mortified.
When she crawled out of bed, she spotted a figure in her kitchen. Luke was wearing her apron, making breakfast. The sunlight just fell on him, highlighting his perfect physique. Something just stirred in her heart.
Clearing her throat, so she tried to sound so casual as she asked Daly, so, how far did things really go last night? Daly. A mischievous look appeared in his eyes as he pointed to his cheek and said twice, Dr. Wells, who knew you could be such a wild one, just trying to strip me and insisting on giving me, like, a medical examination. You even asked if I was a functional, because when I refused, you just kissed my face until it was so swollen, just like, see for yourself, kick. So, like, honestly, we're crying and saying that Daniel wanted to sleep with you, but you demanded he show his health certificate and medical reports first, which he couldn't produce daily. Vicky blushed. This was just so true. She was somewhat of like a germaphobe. No matter how much she liked someone, she wouldn't touch them without like checking for HIV, AIDS, syphilis, and other stares first. So Luke continued, daily when you demanded my medical reports and I said I didn't have any, so you suddenly fell asleep. How like absurd, Eric. Too embarrassed to meet his eyes. Vicky said daily, like I'll add $3,000 to your pay, consider it just overtime. He served her breakfast, and she took a bite of the pastry, so immediately recognizing it was from the bakery downstairs, seeing his expectant look like she didn't really have the whole heart to expose him. That evening, Sophie just called Vicky in a panic. Daily, Vicky, so quick, turn on the news, so they're talking about your boyfriend, Eric. Vicky just flipped on the television to see Luke's face just plastered across the screen. The headline read, Daily Kingston Group heir returns, when the whole news anchor was saying, create like Lucas Kingston, the sole heir to the Kingston Group, has returned to New York after years abroad. Sources always say he's been spotted pretty frequently at local hospitals. Vicky's mouth fell open, so maybe he really was a rich young master. No wonder he could afford those Louis Sexy roses and that private dinner. So maybe she just has thought he was just a really struggling delivery driver trying to show up. Her phone buzzed with a text from Luke, so line, like, can we not talk? So she replied immediately, Daily sure pretending to be poor to test girls like hearts. What a cliche plot, Daily. Core, it's not like that, meet me at Central Park in like an hour. Like pure. When Vicky arrived at Central Park, Luke was already waiting. He looked different. So gone was just the kind of casual delivery uniform, replaced by an impeccable suit that probably cost more than her annual salary. Even his bearing just seemed different, more confident, more sort of commanding. So, Mr. Kingston, or should I say like Your Highness, Vicky's tone was just teasing, but her heart was always churning with complicated emotion. Luke's expression was so serious, restless, like, I didn't mean to deceive you that first day when you peeled off the BMW sticker. I was just so intrigued. No one had ever treated me that way before. I just wanted to see how you'd like just react to the real me, but then things got complicated. Houselet. A go and the delivery job. So the Uber driving daily. So Zero was doing research for our new food delivery platform and like ride sharing service. The career job was just because I just wanted to see you again. Sajur, he paused, running thought honestly about Vic. Vicky cut him off. So Daily, don't worry. So I'll keep quiet about our deal. Your reputation is safe, Daily. Boy, that's not what I meant. I just want to terminate our contract, Sock. Vicky's heart sank, but she just maintained her composure. So equal, of course, I'll just transfer the rest of the money right away. Daily. Bizarre, I don't want your money. Daily, Luke said softly, running. Like, I just want to date you for real. Vicky stared at him, stunned. Haley, but you're like the Kingston heir, and I'm just like, core, just like, what a brilliant doctor who saves lives every day. A woman who stands up for what's right and doesn't care about status. That's exactly why I always fell for you. Like, Emily, before Vicky could respond, her phone rang. It was just a hospital, so emergency surgery needed. She had to go. Luke caught her arm as she turned to leave. Daily, think about it. Maybe I'll just wait for your answer. Your emergency surgery just lasted through the night. Just by the time Vicky finished, dark circles had just formed under her eyes. Just as she walked out of the operating room, she saw Luke sitting in the waiting area, just still in his suit from the night before.
And totally, have you been here all night? She asked, surprised.
He stood up, looking slightly embarrassed. Starlike, I just wanted to make sure you were okay. These overnight surgeries must be exhausting. So deep, I'm so used to it. Vicky felt warmth spreading through her chest, but she pushed it down. Daily, Luke, just about what you just said. Daily ago, like Dr. Wells, full of nurse, interrupted them, just rushing over. Guy, the chairman wants to see you immediately. Daily. So in the chairman's office, Vicky found Daniel and his girlfriend already there, so the girlfriend was crying dramatically while Daniel looked pretty smug. You though, Dr. Wells, guided gravely so. Guy, we've received a pretty serious complaint about your professional conduct. Dr. Pierce claims you've been deliberately sabotaging his work and spreading rumors about him. He has evidence of your harassment. Like Daniel produced some printed papers, honestly, like messages where she threatened me and tried to damage my reputation. She's just bitter about our breakup. Vicky was stunned. Those weren't her messages, so they were clearly fabricated. So furthermore, Daniel continued that she's been using hospital resources for personal gain, so ordering unnecessary tests for personal vendettas. The chairman looked so disappointed. Twice, Dr. Wells, given these serious allegations, so we'll just need to suspend you pending an investigation.
Just then, Luke walked in, just like his presence commanding immediate attention. Daily Chairman Thompson, I believe there's been a misunderstanding.
Against Kingston. So the chairman stood up hurriedly. Daily, what brings you here? I'm here because Dr. Wells is being falsely accused. Geek Luke pulled out his phone. Daily, I have just security footage from the hospital showing Dr. Pierce entering Dr. Wells's office yesterday and harassing her. I also have evidence that these messages were so fabricated, the metadata sort of shows they were actually created recently. Daniel's face just turned pale. Luke just continued, his voice cold. Daily, Dr. Pierce, the Kingston Group, is a major donor to this hospital. We take medical ethics very seriously, so should I have our legal team just kind of look into your past conducts? So the chairman quickly understood the situation. Daily, Dr. Pierce, we'll need to investigate these new allegations. Please submit your resignation just by tomorrow. So, as they left the office, Vicky turned to Luke. Daily, you just didn't have to do that. Daily. Beautiful, I wanted to. Nobody messes with my girlfriend. He paused. Bible, that is, if you'll have me. Daily. Vicky looked at him thoughtfully. Daily, I have 3 conditions. First, no more pretending, rich or poor. Just be like yourself. Second, gets a full medical checkup daily. So Luke laughed. Daily. And the third, daily. So Vicky smiled. Anyway, God, you have to tell me how you really felt when I pulled off that fake BMW sticker 6 months later. Vicky was in surgery when a nurse burst in, twin Dr. Wells. There's an emergency, so your boyfriend collapsed in the lobby, her heart stopped for a moment, but her hands remained so steady as she completed the final suture. I'm almost always done here. Tell Dr. Parker to check on him first. When she finally rushed to the emergency room, she found Luke just sitting on the bed looking perfectly healthy, while Sophie was just kind of examining him. What just happened? Daily, Vicky demanded. So Sophie turned to her with an amused expression, daily exhaustion, and low blood sugar. So someone skipped breakfast to attend an early meeting. So daily. Luke looked sheepish. Daily? I wanted to surprise you for lunch, but I got really dizzy in the lobby.
Daily?
Vicky's worry turned to anger. Daily, you scared me half to death, so I thought something serious had just happened. Kick here, Sophie interjected with a grin. Notes while he's here, so should we do those follow-up tests you've been pestering him about? Luke groaned. Ever since they'd started dating officially, Vicky had just insisted on just regular health checks. She even created a detailed schedule of vaccinations and screenings for him. A go via age, literally just said reaching into his pocket. I was planning to do this differently, but daily he pulled out a small velvet box. So going Vicky Wells, will you marry me? I promise to just keep up with all the health checks you prescribe daily. Vicky just stared at the ring, a simple solitaire diamond, elegant and understated. So exactly her style. She thought about how he'd learned to be himself around her, how he'd started eating at small local restaurants with her instead of just fancy places. How he'd shown up at every one of her overnight surgeries with coffee and snack. You haven't answered my question, and she said seriously.
You will break will break I'll break and I do a break you will
So sort of cord you feel when I pulled off that BMW sticker. Luke laughed. Daily, honestly, I was so furious, then so impressed, then so intrigued, then smitten. No one had ever called me out like that before, Daily. Sophie cleared her throat. Daily, as your doctor and friend, I should just remind you that marriage is a serious commitment that requires whatever your sort of core. Vicky interrupted. Kit asked, his eyes twinkling. Deep and sort of yes to marriage, yes to regular health checks, yes to you, Daily. As Luke slipped the ring onto her finger, Christian just quietly left the whole room, but not before hearing Vicky say, Daily, but you're still getting those blood tests done today, Eric? Some people found their fairy tale ending in grand castles and royal balls. Vicky found hers in hospital corridors and medical charts with a prince who wasn't really afraid to deliver food or drive an Uber, who learned to love her exactingness just as much as she just learned to love his playful spirit.